Hi, my name is Charlie Paco, and I'm publisher of the PODDOM, the daily news show, at poddom.capd.me. I think the folks who will watch this show are people who are interested in listening to someone read the news, and people who are looking for an unbiased news source and looking for a curated news source. So I think people will appreciate my selections of news stories that I read, the fact that the stories are as unbiased as possible. They will appreciate the delivery style. They will appreciate, the subtle nuances that I may bring to the reading of the news stories. They will appreciate the fact that there are no commercials. That it's pretty much just a straight reading of the news, a half-hour show. So the compactness of the story, the uniqueness, or the stories are about people who want to hear stories, that are not so local, in the sense that there's a story that there are stories that people from all over the world might find interesting. Not just, they're not local stories. They're not about things that, one-off events that may happen in your local area. They are, there are stories that have some sense of international import. So I think those kind of people will appreciate PODDOM. PODDOM, the daily news show, April 4th, 2022. In Ukrainian street, a corpse with hands bound and a bullet wound to the head. Bucha, Ukraine, April 4. A man lay sprawled by the roadside in the Ukrainian city of Bucha on Sunday, his hands tied behind his back and a bullet wound to his head, one of hundreds of local residents that officials say had been found dead in the wake of 5 weeks of Russian occupation. Bucha's deputy mayor, Tara Shaporovsky, said 50 of the dead residents, found after Russian forces withdrew from the city late last week, were the victims of extrajudicial killings carried out by Russian troops, and the officials have accused Moscow of war crimes. Russia's defense ministry said in a statement issued on Sunday that all photographs and videos published by the Ukrainian authorities alleging crimes by Russian troops in Bucha were a provocation, and no resident of Bucha suffered violence at the hands of Russian troops. Reuters was not able to independently verify who was responsible for the killing the dead residents. But 3 bodies seen by Reuters reporters on Sunday, the corpse with the hands bound and 2 others which did not have bound hands, bore bullet shots to the head, consistent with what Bucha Mayor Anatoly Fedoruk and his deputy described as executions. In all 3 cases, there were no signs of any other significant injuries elsewhere in the body. All 3 people shot in the head were male, and all 3 were dressed in civilian clothing. On the body of the person whose hands were bound, there were powder burn marks on the lips and face. Such marks can mean a person was shot at close range. The cloth used to bind the man's hands appeared to be a white armband. Russian troops, while they were in Bucha, required that local residents wear the armbands to identify themselves, according to one woman who was still wearing hers. Reuters sent questions to the Kremlin and the Russian Defense Ministry about the corpses that its reporters had witnessed, but received no immediate reply. Russia's defense ministry, in its statement on Sunday, said during the time that Russian armed forces were in control of this settlement, not a single local resident suffered from any violent actions. It added that before Russian troops withdrew on March 30, they delivered 452 tons of humanitarian aid to civilians around the Kyiv region. Shapravsky, the deputy mayor, said some 300 people were found dead after the Russian withdrawal. Of these, he said officials so far have logged 50 as executions carried out by Russian forces. Reuters could not independently verify those figures. The others were either killed in crossfire or their deaths are so far unexplained. Any war has some rules of engagement for civilians. The Russians have demonstrated that they were consciously killing civilians, Fedoruk, the mayor, said as he showed Reuters reporters one of the bodies. Reuters also spoke to one local resident who described a person being found dead after Russian troops detained them, and another resident who described two people found dead with single gunshot wounds to the head. Reuters was not able to independently verify the descriptions provided by the residents. Sobbing as she gestured at her husband's shallow grave, a shot of vodka topped with a cracker resting on freshly dug earth, Tatiana Volodymyrovna recounted an ordeal at the hands of Russian troops in this city 37 kilometers northwest of Kyiv. She and her husband, a former Ukrainian Marine, were dragged from their apartment when Russian troops set up their command center in their building. The soldiers held them prisoner in the apartment building where they lived. She said the Russians, when they arrived in the city, asked people who they were and demanded to see documents. She said a fighter with the Russian forces, who she believed was from Russia's semi-autonomous Chechnya region, warned he would cut us up. She did not say how she knew he was Chechen. Reuters sent a request for comment to the office of the leader of Chechnya, Roman Kadyrov, a Kremlin loyalist, but received no reply. Tatiana, who identified herself by her first name and patronymic but did not give her family name, was released after being held for 4 days. Her husband was nowhere to be seen for several days until she was told about some bodies in a basement stairwell of the building where she and her husband lived. I recognized him by his sneakers, his trousers. He looked mutilated. His body was cold, she said. My neighbor still has a picture of his face. He had been shot in the head, mutilated, tortured. Reuters reviewed the photograph, which showed that the face and body were badly mutilated. The news agency could not determine if there was a bullet wound. After recovering her husband's body, she and some neighbors buried it in a garden plot near their building, just deep enough so dogs wouldn't eat him up, she said. Another corpse still lay in the stairwell where her husband was found, a Reuters reporter saw. Local residents covered the body with a bed sheet as a mark of dignity. Around the corner, another grave contained the remains of 2 men. A woman resident told Reuters. She said that the men had been taken away by Russian troops. She did not witness them being killed. When the bodies were found, both had been shot through the left eye, she said. 6 other residents gathered near the grave said her account was correct. One of the residents said she recognized one of the dead men as a tenant in the apartment complex, who she said was a retired member of the Ukrainian military. Bucha was captured in the days immediately after the February 24 invasion of Ukraine by Russian forces, who swept south, capturing the defunct nuclear reactor at Chernobyl and moving southwards toward the capital. Bucha and the northern outskirts of nearby Irpin were the point at which the Russian advance from the northwest was halted after they met with unexpectedly fierce resistance from Ukrainian forces. The area witnessed some of the bloodiest fighting of the battle for the capital until Russian forces pulled back from north of Kyiv. Moscow said in late March it was regrouping to focus on battles in eastern Ukraine. On Saturday, Ukraine said its forces had retaken all areas around Kyiv and that it now had complete control of the capital region for the first time since the invasion. On Sunday, roads in Bucha were littered with unexploded ordnance. Rockets poked out of the tarmac near burned-out wrecks of tanks. Some residents scrawled, "Beware, mines," on their walls in chalk after finding booby traps or missiles on their premises. Resident Vladimir Kapachov said Russian troops had set up a rocket system in a vacant lot next to his garden. When a Reuters reporter visited, boxes of ammunition and spent shell cases littered the ground. Kapachov, a Ukrainian dog breeder, was in mourning. He said his 33-year-old daughter, her boyfriend, and a friend were shot dead by Russian troops after firing a party streamer towards them just days before the pullback. Kapachov's wife said they fired a streamer as a gesture of defiance, not with the intent of harming the soldiers. "It is so hard to go through it all," said the 69-year-old, as 10 Alabel, a breed of prized Central Asian shepherd dog, barked in his backyard. Kapachov said he had not ventured beyond the gates of his house for a month. They were killing people on the spot. No one asked, "Who are you? Why are you out?" The men were simply shot. The Kremlin denies that it has invaded Ukraine, saying it is carrying out a special military operation to degrade the Ukrainian armed forces and is targeting military installations rather than carrying out strikes on civilian areas. Speaking in Hostomel near Bucha on Sunday, Ukrainian Defense Minister Alexei Reznikov said, "This is not a special operation. These are not police actions. These are inhumans who simply committed crimes against civilians." Hi, my name is Charlie Paco, and I'm publisher of the PODDOM, the daily news show, at poddom.capd.me. What am I doing? Again, I've got a Reuters.com newsfeed, and I am curating stories that are being presented to me from Reuters.com, and then I am, stories that range in length from anywhere from 1 minute to 7 minutes in reading. Then I am stringing them all together in a production, putting a beginning, middle, and end, as it were, to the stories, and then posting it to my website. Then presenting it as an issue. That is what I'm doing. Just literally just reading the news. Twitter options trades ahead of Musk disclosure raise analysts' eyebrows. New York, April 4. Some well-timed trades in the options on Twitter Incorporated in the days before Tesla Incorporated's top boss, Elon Musk, revealed a large stake in the social media company are raising eyebrows among options analysts. On Monday, Musk revealed a 9.2% stake in Twitter, making him the biggest shareholder in the company and triggering a 26% rise in Twitter's shares to over $49. The news follows a flurry of bullish trading in Twitter's options in recent days, including in-calls options, betting on Twitter shares rising above $43 by April 29, or up more than 10%, on which traded in noticeably large numbers. It certainly seems someone was aware of Musk building a stake, which is information that would likely be readily available across trading desks due to the significant size of the position, said Joe Kunkel, founder of options analytics firm OptionsHawk.com in Philadelphia. The trades stood out since they were betting on Twitter to advance sharply within a relatively short time frame, Kunkel said. For example, someone bought 3,900 of the April $43 calls for about $530,400, just minutes before the end of the trading session on Thursday. In all, 21,706 of these contracts changed hands on Thursday overnight, making them the fourth largest block of open contracts on Twitter, according to Trade Alert data. The contracts would also capture any sharp price moves following Twitter's earnings result, expected on April 28. With Twitter's share price jumping on Monday, the trades stood to make big gains. For example, the April 29 $43 calls, which traded for an average price of $1.26 on Thursday, changed hands at an average price of $6.92 on Monday, a gain of more than 400%, according to a Reuters analysis of the trades. Bullish options on Twitter have drawn unusually heavy activity since Musk tweeted on March 25th that he was giving serious thought to building a new social media platform, while questioning Twitter's commitment to free speech. Matt Amberson, principal at Options Analytics from Oratz, said. Analytics firm Oratz said, "I find it interesting that the calls were bought in a big hurry, late in the day, ahead of the end of the quarter. If I was a regulator, I would be looking into these trades," said Steve Sosnick, chief strategist at Interactive Brokers. "It's not a smoking gun, but it deserves scrutiny," he said. The U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission scans for unusual trades ahead of news announcements and has used such data to bring insider trader probes in the past, public filings show. The SEC did not immediately respond to a request for comment on the trading in Twitter's options. Twitter and Tesla did not immediately respond to a request for comment on the trading activity. Hi, my name is Charlie Paco, and I'm publisher of the PODDOM, the daily news show, at poddom.capd.me. I live in Pacific City, Oregon. I am reading all of this, doing all this from my living room / bedroom in a very, very rural area of Oregon. If any place in Oregon could be more rural, I am living in it. It's off the Oregon coast, and it's not an easy drive to get here. Let's put it that way. It's not the hardest, but it's not the easiest. And 2-day deliveries, take about a week. So just so you know, that's where I'm doing this. I'm standing up on a treadmill and staring into my laptop and just sort of reading it. That's where I'm doing this. Parkland shooter Cruz faces penalty trial for killing 17 people. April 4. Jury selection is scheduled to begin on Monday for the penalty phase of the trial for the man who shot and killed 17 people including 14 students at a Parkland, Florida high school in 2018. Nicholas Cruz pled guilty in November to 17 counts of murder. Now, a jury will determine whether he receives life in prison or the death penalty. It is expected to take several weeks to seat the jury, and this phase of the trial could last several months, legal experts have said. Cruz was a 19-year-old expelled student with a history of mental health and behavioral issues at the time of the killings, prosecutors said at his trial last year. Under Florida law, a jury must be unanimous in its decision to recommend that a judge sentence Cruz to be executed. If any of the 12 jurors objects, Cruz will be sentenced to life in prison without parole. Among the mitigating factors, the defense will ask the jury to consider are Cruz's brain damage from his mother's drug and alcohol abuse during pregnancy, his long history of mental health disorders, and allegations he was sexually abused and bullied. Some of the teenagers who survived Cruz's deadly rampage formed March for Our Lives, an organization that called for gun control legislation such as a ban on assault-style rifles. In March 2018, the group held a nationally televised march in Washington that sparked hundreds of similar rallies worldwide. Cruz was 18 when he legally purchased from a licensed gun dealer the AR-15 style rifle used in the shooting. Hi, my name is Charlie Paco, and I'm publisher of the PODDOM, the daily news show, at poddom.capd.me. Why am I doing this? Good question. I am doing this because, one, I am on dialysis, and it's something I have to do, during the day, about 5 times a day. And basically, I stand up on my treadmill and get my walks in while I'm doing my dialysis. And I was watching TV, and I was getting bored, and I wanted something to do besides just watch TV. I wanted to present. I thought, well, why presenting the news? I don't know. I really don't know. I like reading, and I like talking, and I wanted to work on my skills, my video presentation skills, and you could see that my style of talking is probably not something that you may be used to people, speaking to you on screen. Generally, they always speak in complete sentences, and everything makes sense, and they don't, use words like and and they don't. Their delivery of words is, more well strung together than the way I'm talking to you. So you're listening to me, and it might be difficult for me to understand, and so I'm working on that. So it's difficult. It's not easy for me, but that's pretty much one of the reasons why I'm doing this. And I like, I think in some way I like the idea that I might be presenting a service to someone who could be interested in wanting to listen to the news or news stories. So that's another reason why. And it's a way for me to connect with other people, by reading the news, because it opens up a channel for you to talk to me about what it is I'm reading. I will eventually, I'm also trying to do interviews with people that I find interesting, or if they have subjects that I find interesting. And I say I find interesting. I'm thinking that, obviously, there may be more people who find the dialogue interesting. Sometimes they're about, me or the person I'm interviewing. Sometimes it's personal information, but it may be about a particular news event, a current event that's going on. So I'll be posting those as well. So that'll be a part of the show. But it takes time. That's pretty much why I'm doing this, because I don't know, it's fun. I do enjoy it. Like I said, learning how to do something new, putting together a package that producing something. By nature, I'm a very creative person, so producing something is fun for me. The headaches involved in all of that. It's a project. I like projects. I don't have a lot of time to do projects, so this is something that I can squeeze into whatever my daily activities, so I'm trying to do that. How am I doing this? Okay, so like I said, I'm standing up on my treadmill in my living room. Sometimes I've got my dialysis going, as you see in back of me, the IV pole. That's me doing my dialysis, so I may be reading the news while all that's going on. I'm not doing any walking because, again, I'm trying to present the news, and sometimes when you're walking, your head's bouncing up and down, and people are going, "Why the hell? Why are you moving around like that?" And it's like, well. So I thought I'd cut that out. I tried that on the first issue, and that just didn't seem to work. I am, like I said, I'm standing up at my treadmill. I've got a laptop that I'm looking at right now. I've got a wireless keyboard that I'm typing in. The OBS software, which is doing the video recording, allows me to switch scenes like that. It does it. I have it set so it does it automatically. So that's running on the laptop. I have a microphone that I have here. I'm going through a mixer, a little 4-channel mixer, which is then going into the laptop doing the recording. After I record all the shows, I have another laptop which I bounce all those shows to, where I actually do the production on. I just use Photoshop to add titles and things, and to it's nothing too elaborate. I don't try to overproduce anything because I really just don't have time. But I do try to put together something that might be interesting to watch. If I have any op-ed rants, I usually put that at the beginning of the show, just to get it out of the way. With those, I don't do that every day. So, it takes a couple of hours really to do all of this. It takes, obviously, a little bit over a half an hour to read all the stories, to create all the content. And then it takes about, maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours to actually put it all together. And then I've got it, I've got to compile it. That takes, to render, they call it rendering the show, where you take all the visuals that were recorded and render it into a movie. And that takes a little while. And then after that's done, I've got to upload it to YouTube, and that takes some time. So, so all of it is a lengthy process. Like I said, it can take, a good couple of hours, 2 to 3 hours before everything is finally done. So, that pretty much is the long and the short and long of it. If I think of anything, I will let you know. But again, my name is Charlie Paco. I'm publisher of PODDOM.capd.me. You can contact me at charlie@capd.me. And I look forward to hearing from you. And that's it. That's my pitch. Yeah.